Oh, okay, cool. ARTMS just released their new music video for Birth. Alright, we'll give this a little view. Okay. Okay. Ah, fuck.
Hit up YouTube, I'm Eric, thank you for clicking on the video. And it has been less than a year since I made a Lunaverse video. Let's go, let's go. Anyways, what in the F is this video? In this chapter in the Lunaverse, we had this avant-garde music video for Birth, the first of 4 pre-releases for ARTMS's Doll album. Usually I would have a video that would take you frame by frame of the music video and show you what I found precisely where and when. But I believe we have quite a peculiar case here. So I wanted to try something different than the Everything You Missed videos and focus on some of the things I found to be some of the most critical parts of the music video. Rather than just filling the video with random tidbits, you have a fully dedicated dive into some of the more significant events of the music video. So let's dive into this Lunaverse madness, which is ARTMS's Birth music video. The first thing we should discuss is where this all takes place. Granted, this music video has many settings, but the one I want to focus on is here. These drawing scenes. Where are we?
Australia.
Nope, not there. Given context clues from the music video, i.e. their clothes, which are incredibly similar to YYY's black outfits seen in Heart Attack and One and Only, one could assume that this is actually Eden. The Eden. It is not just the school we had for YYY, but the utopian world placed beyond Earth of 1/3 and the Middle Earth of Odd Eye Circle. Knowing that puts everything into perspective for YYY and some of our following topics. Now for what's probably the hot topic of this music video. This creature shooting an arrow at this deer-like creature. Because the arrow this humanoid creature wields is blue, naturally one would think that this creature is Jinsol due to her official color being blue, and that this deer-like creature would imply it being Vivi because her official animal is a deer. This would play into old theories of Jinsol playing that villain role, killing Vivi and then Vivi being turned into an android. Though I would say that while this creature uses a blue arrow, I suspect that this is not Jinsol, because in various other shots in the music video, we have the 5 girls as well as this humanoid creature. Another rendition of this theory is Jinsol bewitching or influencing Olivia Hay, or Haeju, into killing Vivi. The humanoid creature would signify Haeju, and the blue arrow would mean that Jinsol has influence on the user. Fortunately, in ARTMS's reaction video and behind the scenes footage, they've identified this creature and the creature of light as the real ARTMS. So we know that this is just ARTMS killing this deer-like creature. So if that's not the case here, could it imply it happened? I briefly talked about this theory of Haeju killing Vivi for one of the Orbiting the Lunaverse questions a long time ago. That theory often uses this scene in Egoist where someone is whispering to someone else. People would then assume that these were Jinsol and Haeju, and Jinsol convinced Haeju into killing Vivi. Now my argument then, and even now to some extent, would be if we know Haeju is in Eden, this utopian society, and attending what seems like a type of boarding school, how could she have headphones on when it seems like the YYY girls are under such strict rules and standards? This is clearly different from your standard school. They're being inspected and being fed specific types of foods. It's honestly tough to imagine the YYY members having electronic devices in Eden. Now, I said to some extent because I could see something like this happening, though it would have to take place before Haeju was a student here. But even then, she would be like, what, 16 international age here? Like, I know we live in a society, right? And that wolves can hunt deer. But What you may not know is that wolves struggle to take down deer because of such a size difference, and deer often have antlers, and if a wolf and a deer go one-on-one, usually the deer would win. I know female deer usually don't have antlers, but Vivi's deer is often depicted with antlers, as seen in Every Day I Love You, Every Day I Need You, and PTT. However, I like the idea that Vivi is involved in Artemis' story. They could have it play into the fallen angel and play Vivi as the virtual angel, but as it stands, I'm not entirely convinced just yet. So we'll put a pin on it for now. Next, I want to talk about these scenes. Cherry in the ground, and then in the following scenes, another cherry comes out of a flower. This sequence occurs throughout the video and actually uses a theory I made a while back. For my Heejin Day video, I theorized the concept of the Lunaverse creation, in which Heejin was this all-powerful being who created this universe, and her powers was then split into 12. Those 12 being every member of LOONA. However, in Artemis' case, it was not Heejin whose powers were split, and they weren't divided into 12. We now have this creature, which they have identified as the real Artemis, split into 5. We could then assume that this is where the 5 members of Artemis get their powers, or in a Lunaverse sense, their odd eyes. More on this later. Now back to Cherry in the ground. In later shots, meteors fall, but they are actually babies with umbilical cords. We find out that they are the 5 members of Artemis, but as baby seeds. Nevertheless, when they crash land, they are planted and grow to be Artemis members, as we see with Cherry. It was also revealed in Artemis' reaction to the music video that these seeds are, from left to right, Jinso, Cherry, Kimlip, Heejin, and Hasu. What's also interesting is that the house in the background is the house that Hasu was in earlier, while the same 5 meteors were falling from the sky. So if Hasu is already alive in the house, who is the baby? I would say it would also be Hasu, because in the already existing Lunaverse, we have had many instances where we have members of Artemis or people with odd eyes with their double. For example, Cherry and Kimlip in Girlfront, Jinso in Sweet Crazy Love, Hasu in Let Me In, and this one might be a stretch, Heejin in the Vivid music video. Having this may also use the theory I would say was my greatest Lunaverse theory I had ever created, which was this video almost 4 years ago now. In it, I stated that the Lunaverse hadn't been a single Mobius strip as they had implied. Instead, it was 2. It doesn't use RGB or RYB color wheels, it uses both. One of the Mobius strips inverts purple, which makes that the complementary color to green via the RGB color wheel, thus explaining why I believe Hasu has an odd eye. On the other Mobius strip using that RYB color wheel, we also have that situation where purple inverts, but now it's the complementary color to yellow, thus explaining Hyunjin's connection to Cherry and Hyunjin potentially having that odd eye. With these 2 worlds, it's not that hard to imagine 2 variants of the same person existing in the same place if these Mobius strips were to converge. Through that logic, I believe we have Eden and Earth variants of the members of Artemis. Or this could just be the Artemis members being abducted by Artemis, but that opens up a whole new can of worms that would make this video much longer than I wanted it to be. So if you want me to dive down that hole, let me know in the comments. Finally, I want to quickly mention this scene with Jinso getting beamed by this creature of light, which we know as Artemis. This seems like references to past music videos like Sing in the Rain, Hi Hi, and PTT, though now with all the information from this music video, I would assume that this is actually Artemis giving Jinso her odd eye, and perhaps imbuing her mind with the impending end of the world. And maybe that is why Jinso has a tear running down her left eye. the same side where her odd eye is. On that note, this scene with Kim Lip on the subway. I know in ARTMS's reaction they said that this was Lip falling as a meteor. I doubt that, because given what we saw with Jinsol and ARTMS, I would assume that this is also Kim Lip receiving her odd eye and seeing that impending doom coming. Look, if we go back to Kim Lip's subway car scene, we can see that this door is opening, and it's not hard to imagine that the creature of light, aka ARTMS, came in and did to Kim Lip exactly what they did to Jinsol. But those are my thoughts and opinions on some of the significant events from ARTMS's first pre-release music video, Birth. It's a pretty spicy video, so much revealed and so much more to uncover. I feel like this music video and song was a great way to show the world what ARTMS is capable of, and wait and see what the future holds for them. But comment down below whether you agree with me or not, and some of your thoughts and opinions on ARTMS's Birth music video. Also, let me know if you like this style of Lunaverse dives. But yeah, that's all I have here for today. If you like the video, please do leave a like. It really does help support the channel and allows other theories to find a video too. If you really like the video, drop a super thanks. And if you like what I do here and you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.